So I started recording. So this is a lecture on. I'm just coming. So this is a. I'm admitting everyone. Admitted. I think everyone is admitted now. Okay, so this is a small lecture on economy and economic development, some economic policies, and also foreign aid, the role of foreign aid. We just want to look that. So Sri Lankan economic policies is not very static, it's not very dovetailed, rather it has been altered many times in between. But what is important for us to note is that this economic changes, they have not been obliterated the past. The past peeps in again and again in the present. So it is not abrupt disconnection between the past and the present, but there are actually changes which are very substantial changes. So you cannot obliterate the past, rather. Now we all know that Sri Lankan economy was a colonial economy, and when it got freedom in the after independence, it was based on plantation economy. And we all know that how British colonizers first started with coffee plantation, and later on they shifted to tea plantation. Therefore, it was much or more based on agriculture, either food for domestic consumption or food for the production of commercial crop to export. We all know that how British wanted the cash crops for their own economy or for the international. If you draw a parallel in India, how crash crops were created, and who can forget the indigo plantation in which the Indian farmers suffered a lot, and Mr. Gandhi had to lead a movement in Champaran. Now let us come to the first government in 1956. If we see a substantial understanding of the United National Party, Ekastha Jatika Paksha, United Nation Polity, till 1956, it made very little changes of the economy, and there was a pressure on from the Sri Lankan Freedom Party, SLFP, and they started emphasizing that you should manufacture for domestic consumption. And this domestic consumption is important because that, you cannot have only export-oriented or food consumption. So the United National Party from 1965 to 70 encouraged the production of food for internal consumption. That became the guiding principle of the economic policy, food consumption for the internal consumption. That was one. Now then in 1970, a socialist government came, and it was United Front, not Indian United Front. It was Sri Lankan United Front, and they nationalized the land as well as industries. Very unique, very unique type of policy as socialist. They nationalized the land and the industry, and also restricted foreign investment, and they wanted independent. Being socialist, they also tried to distribute land to the peasant cultivators, and they tried to change the whole economic pattern. But again in 1977, there was a change in the economic style, and we know that how Jayawardene, who had come to power, and in 1978, we also know that Sri Lanka changed the whole political system from prime ministerial form of government to presidential form of the government, a new constitution, and the United National Party, they started an export-oriented, market-oriented economy. They started whatever was nationalized by the Socialist Party, they started privatizing. And they started privatizing the government corporations, and they also started encouraging foreign investment. So what government was trying in India, look, in 1990s, they started in 1970s itself. Now these politics, I said these policies have been going through, and they have continued through for several decades. And you know what happened in between, that by 2018 or so, Sri Lanka was placed in HDI terms. It had a very high, as far as South Asian countries were concerned, Sri Lanka had in 2018, it had 71st rank in 180 countries where HDI is measured. We see that Sri Lanka has a very high human development index, and it was put also in a high human development index category, HDI. Okay, so you can also compare, actually, no other country, even India at that time was placed at 129th position. So that is the way actually privatization helped. Although after liberalization, the growth in Sri Lanka had 5 to 6% of GDP. That is the growth, as they say. But it has come down substantially in 2019, and it is only 3.3. So we can say that even liberalization has not helped for growth. There may be other reasons, and we all know that how Sri Lanka was stuck up with the civil war. Now, further, if we go ahead, the leading sectors of economy. What are the leading sectors of economy which have contributed into the economy of Sri Lanka? And it is said that leading sector of economy is nothing but export of the garments. Garment export is one of the leading contribution for foreign exchange in Sri Lanka. And this this policy is basically restricted to free trade zone. Free trade zones are there. Also, they are called as export promotion zones or investment protection zones. So economy has a special aspect where they have a protected policy. Now it accounts for more than half of the nation's foreign exchange earning. Such big is the garment export industry of China. Half of the foreign exchange comes that. However, we have to be, taking a very cautious stance, saying that it depends upon foreign investors. Now, foreign investors have their own interest, and therefore, we have to recognize that why do foreign investors get attracted towards this garment industry or especially free trade zones? There are certain reasons that they are attracted towards this particular policy. One, of course, one of the important reasons because of which they are attracted, there is generous tax and infrastructure concessions which have been given by the Sri Lankan government. Generous tax concessions as well as infrastructural development, you can do that. A very important aspect of any economic policy. Second, it is also said that wages are lowest, as far as wages are lowest in the world. In Sri Lanka, wages are lowest, and therefore the foreign investors are attracted towards Sri Lanka for investment in the free trade zone. That is second reason. It is also underlined that female workforce is very in big quantity, and actually they are big numbers of the free trade zone, and they come and serve, and therefore it's easy for them to handle because they are committed. And we can take this parallel drawn from Bangladesh. In Bangladesh also we see that in garment industry, women are more in number. And I gave you the study of Naila Kabir, who said that why women dominate in Bangladesh, Bangladesh garment economy. Now we can draw a parallel, or I do not have right now the answer why women dominate. But if we take leave from Naila Kabir's article, then we can say that yes, they are more trustworthy and they are more committed, and actually they work for longer period, and they are also docile. That's what many of the people will say. The last aspect is that the attraction of the foreign investor is that United States have given a fixed quota under, there is a scheme that is called as multi-fiber arrangement scheme, MEA, multi-fiber arrangement scheme. And in this, US has given a particular quota that you can export this much of quantity from abroad. And therefore, actually, this arrangement has existed, and therefore, foreign investment, they get attracted. But in 2004, this MEA expired, and many of the factories were closed because the foreign investors withdrew. So therefore, though the garment industry is the biggest contributor, but of course there is also this danger. In 2005, the free trade zone struggled to improve the infrastructure, and also productivity, and therefore it got reduced gradually. It changed. The second most largest contributor in Sri Lankan economy, what is that? This is the Tamil diaspora, the foreign exchange remittances, the foreign remittances sent by the Sri Lankan diaspora. And we all have just come to, when we were doing actually the ethnic violence in Sri Lanka, we came to know that how big was Tamil diaspora in Canada, and they were contributing even to LTTE. But there is this, the Sri Lankan, the non-resident Sri Lankans, just like NRIs, non-resident Indians, the non-resident Sri Lankans, and of course the others, they are big. How big it is, I don't have right now data, but if you take Indian, diaspora, they are considered to be 35 million people live outside. Indians live outside, possibly the most, the biggest diaspora after Chinese diaspora. So this is the second most important sector of contribution to the economy. The third largest source of foreign exchange in Sri Lanka is tourism. But both, of course, face a lot of challenges, and there are uncertainties involved, because as you all know that when there was a civil war, tourism dipped down. Otherwise, Sri Lanka was a destination for tourism, as Maldives is in South Asia. So these were the sectors of contribution. Now coming to another sector which is important, and that is agriculture, a source of income. Even today, 31.8% of the population engages in agriculture activities, agriculture and allied sectors such as forestry and fishing. They account for 18% of the GDP of Sri Lanka. So it's very important. Not only they contribute into the GDP as far as capital is concerned, they are also contributing for the employment. How much employment they contribute? They contribute at least approximately 27% of the population is employed in these. This brings me now to the another point, and that is foreign aid. Foreign aid. Now this I have taken from an article, DMIL. This is DESHAL, DESHAL, DMIL. This is the article by two men, and this is of course in the book Saman Kelegama. I think I have been taking this all South Asian foreign aid, whatever data I have taken from this edited volume of S-A-M-A-N. Saman. Saman Kelegama. This is the book actually, Foreign Aid in South Asia, Emerging Scenario. This article is also there. Now, according to Dimmel and De Silva, foreign aid has been very important, and it has played a very important role in the Sri Lankan development process. And aid has particularly helped Sri Lanka to finance large scale of infrastructural projects. So foreign aid is important for the large scale development projects. Now, again, underline this, that large scale development projects, they are nothing but imitation of the Western developmental model. Now, in this context, you can look at that how foreign aid in Sri Lanka has not only been used for big developmental project, it's not coming on the...
No, sir, just check, is it to everyone? Because it's not visible in the chat.
Oh, Zoom chat to everyone. Yeah. You people keep on educating every day. Oh, Prerna, admit. Yeah, I don't know exactly where.
So when you open Zoom chat, before type, it will, in the blue box, it will show different, like two. So just select everyone in that.
Okay. To Acha, it is going to loud only, to everyone in meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now is it okay? It's not coming yet.
Now if you resend it, then it will get.
Okay. Oh. Okay. I think Pancham should send. This is the book I'm sending now, Kelegama. This is the book. Okay, this is the book. This is the book written by, and in that actually I've given the. This is the foreign aid in South Asia. Foreign aid in South Asia. That is the book name which I'm referring. Foreign aid in South Asia, the emerging scenario. It is 2012. And the article for Sri Lanka, which I was saying, the article is written by two people. Deshal, Dimal and Silva. This is the article which they have written on Sri Lanka. So, okay. So now we were just trying to see that it is not only that Sri Lanka has taken foreign aid to develop their infrastructural facilities, but it has also tried to use it for education and health. Also, it has tried to use for poverty reduction program, and especially one program. I think I should use this chat box again to give you the name. I cannot pronounce it properly, but I think we have to. GEMI, G-E-M-I, GEMI Diria, D-I-R-I-Y-A. GEMI Diria. And some people write Gemi separately and Diria separately. So Gemi Diria project is one of the important community development and livelihood project which was initiated very late in 2004, and it was supposed to run for 12 years to improve the livelihood and quality life of Sri Lankans. The project cost was somewhere $69 million, $69 million. Okay. Now, if you see that this project went till only 2010. So we see community development program, which started in 2004, was stopped in 2010. So 6 years. I do not think that 6 years is a very appropriate time for community development. It should have been for longer period. There is another project, third, we have said actually infrastructural project, and then we have said community development program, irrigation project. That is also one of the largest project of irrigation. I think you have the article now with you. That was Mahaveli Development Project, isn't it? You have that?
Yes, yes. I've
Yeah,
posted it
Sneha,
on.
I think Sneha shared it with MAHA Mahaveli, VELI. Mahaveli irrigation project, and this was supposed to irrigate 3,65,000 acres of land. Can you imagine? 3,65,000 hectares of land. Sorry, hectares of land. So we can see that how this foreign aid has been utilized. Not only restricting to this, it has been it has also helped the emergency situation in Sri Lanka. The foreign aid was not only for this, but it was also, for development of the emergency situation. And in emergency situation, we have seen after tsunami as well as after post-conflict reconstruction which has gone. Now, one important question which you can ask is that why did Sri Lanka needed foreign aid? And the simple answer was that it was not able to generate internal income. The government was not able to generate finances for different reconstruction expenditure or development, and therefore it needed foreign aid. Now, what is the contribution after the post-conflict Sri Lanka? What is the level? It is said that it is somewhere in 2009, it stood 7.4% of the GDP. It was very low in 2005, it was only 3, but after the civil war, the quantum of foreign aid has gone up, and we all know that how philanthropic contributions start pouring in once a country suffers such type of calamity. Who are the donors? That is another important question we can see. Now, historically, approximately 80% of Sri Lankan foreign aid has been distributed by three, they have been given to Sri Lanka by three very important donors. One was Japan, another was Asian Development Bank, and third was World Development Bank. Now you can very well imagine that why did uh, why did the uh, Japan, and we all know Japan contributed. Why did Japan? I don't know, but I think it is my hunch that it was basically a moral pressure on Japan, because Japan had bombed in 1942, both on 5th of April and 9th April, it bombed Sri Lanka. So I think possibly that was the guilt because of which actually they contributed. Now, what is the condition of loan, especially in the in terms of interest and time period? I think this is very important, that we have to understand the difference between the commercial loans and as well as long-term concessional loans. There are two different types of loan. It is said that the loans were given for a long period of time. For example, the Asian Development Fund resource, it was given for 30 years. 30 years maturity, and after that only it was said that interest was only 0.5%. So there is low interest rate and long gestation period to repay back. World Bank gave a loan for 40 years, but it had a 0.75. Okay, so De Silva have they tried to see that in recent years donors have stopped giving such big time loans, that is longer period of time loans, and they have also not been given this concessional rates of interest, and there is higher level of interest. Why? Because they think now that Sri Lanka has reached to a higher per capita income, and they are now thinking that, you know, that its HDI is now 71. That is somewhere in the middle income country it has reached. So therefore there is a stop. Now the World Bank has given loan only for 20 years. Aid for Japan has also declined, and it used to be somewhere dollars 262 million in 2004. But it has come down to 200 million in 2007. But it has gone up after the Civil War. Now, more important aspect of this foreign aid, which we have to underline, is that along with the decline of the traditional loan, Sri Lanka has also faced a decline of aid due to certain Western bilateral ties which were withdrawn because of the civil strife, the civil war. Many of the countries, they withdrew financial loans because they thought that there is a violation of the human rights, and therefore they stopped funding Sri Lanka. Okay, so we have to see that also. Now, once that was stopped, what is the strategy which Sri Lanka has adopted? Once that the loans, which was concessional loans, it moved towards the non-traditional loans. That was, now it has entered into bilateral ties directly. For example, if you take in 2007, the biggest donor to Sri Lanka was China. China had the highest loan lender, and it was somewhere US dollars 292.8 million. India was also there, but very meager in comparison to China, of course, but it gave actually 27.4 million actually worth project. So instead of directly donating money to use them at will, people have started actually donating project-wise donations now. Unlike earlier terms. And also, China is not interested much in the human right violation, or actually they are not looking what is happening inside, but they are more of actually expecting that how bilateral flows should be there. Also, Sri Lanka has moved from non-traditional borrowing to commercial borrowing. Now, commercial borrowing is at higher rate, and it is also for actually less period of time. Now, this is therefore actually there is a criticism of the Sri Lankan leaders. Why? Because if you take commercial loan, that is for small period of time and there is a high level of interest. But when you use that capital for infrastructural development, now we all know that infrastructural development take place longer period of time to be completed, and therefore the fruits for infrastructural projects start coming very late. Now you are taking small time loans with high interest, then what is going to happen? The fruits will not be very conducive and sustainable. That is the criticism, and therefore IMF has directly told that if you really want to take loans from the others like this commercial loan, then there should be a cap. That's what actually this discussion comes. Now, how do we conclude then? Conclusion is that in short, in short period of time, foreign aid may be beneficial, but in longer run, you have to generate. Reliance on concessional aid to finance development projects is not conducive. Second, we have to also take local channels and local, the local talent into account before it should not be over domination of the foreign aid donor and they bring all the specialization. So we have to be sensitive to the constraint of the domestic institutions also. And also they should look into the harmony of the